I am doing a podcast now. Well, I don't know. I thought
Nice.
I would do one because everyone does one. And so I thought I should too. Why not? Why not?
I think it's the thing to do in isolation. I
Of
think
course.
that's one of those required things to do during isolation is to start your podcast.
Yeah. It's definitely something you should do. Yeah. And plus, talking is,
Yeah.
is cool, especially with you. You are a very, 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 a person whom I could talk with for hours or at least hear you talk. Because
Well,
whatever
thank you.
you choose to talk about, you give off the impression that you know like almost every minute detail of it. So when it comes to cooking, I think you are a five-star chef just at the way like you like
It's
know.
it's it's it, it's just all in the way you say things, I guess, because I know very little about anything.
Well, I know you know a lot about anime, so I know that much. You know a
Well,
lot about
yeah, a little bit of a closet weeb there
a
for
little
sure.
bit of a closet weeb. You sure? I'm
Yeah.
not sure. It might be a bit outward.
Yeah, I don't hide it too much.
Yeah.
I guess I mask my power level a little bit in the sense that like I don't have a bunch of anime shit around my room or anything like that. I do have like a Vegeta in my living room, which I think would maybe give it away, but it's like one of the Funko
Mm-hmm.
Pop toys, so
All
it's not
right.
like a sixth scale.
It's not
Yeah.
like yeah, it's not like one of those like massive like
Yeah.
Vegeta human things. Or
I've
what is it,
always wanted
man?
to get a Cowboy Bebop tattoo though, which I feel like would be a dead giveaway. But I'd want to make it like very latent, like maybe just like the
Hmm.
swordfish on my tricep or something like that.
I
But
have I
what about you,
actually
man? What's the?
I have actually
Oh,
been
go ahead.
thinking.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I have actually I've heard Cowboy Bebop. I think I'm not into anime a whole lot. I watched
Sure.
Avatar: The Last Airbender when I was like a kid growing up.
Yeah.
And then I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess this is like a more of a westernized like anime. The Teen
Absolutely.
Titans. I watched that too.
Oh yeah.
On the Cartoon
I would
Network
I
thing.
would put those I would put those both kind of in the realm of like cartoon. They
Mm-hmm.
kind of bridge the gap. They're kind of American anime, I guess, but
Yeah.
they're not to the purist. I would say that neither of those are really considered anime.
All right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, man, have you never watched Cowboy Bebop?
No, I haven't. And actually, you're the reason why I'm like, okay, well, I probably should. I'm like,
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop is like a great gateway
mm-hmm,
drug to getting into
mm-hmm.
anime. It's just like a perfect show, and it's kind of like hiding your vitamins, man. Like you don't know that you're watching anime until it's too late and you're in love with it because it's so well done. You feel like you're just kind of like watching a noir program, or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The fact that it's animated is so little to do with why the show is good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. I actually have a bit of a meme question, but I think it's
sure.
also a good question. So, is anything Hideo Kojima makes considered anime?
I don't think so. I mean, certainly like Hideo Kojima is a fanboy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
so much of what makes up his style is a lot like what makes up the style of like a lot of like the fan centric kind of fan service pieces of art where like
Mm-hmm.
he pays homage to all his favorite shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a good example is Snake, right? Snake
Mm-hmm.
is just Snake Plissken from Escape New York. And
Mm-hmm.
so obviously that's something that Hideo Kojima was a fan of and was like, I want Kurt Russell in my video game. How do we do that? Let's just steal Snake Plissken, right? And so I think that's like a really I think when you consume media that's made by fanboys, you
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of like those homages to the greats. Like Cowboy Bebop is the same way in that like you get tributes to, you know, Doc and Marty from Back to the Future. You get tributes to a lot of characters from other universes that the director was just a fan of. And I think a lot of times um just like in film, in video games, you know, in film they always say movies make movies. So
Mm-hmm.
I think Hideo Kojima like kind of treats his games almost like a film experience and
Mm-hmm.
borrows scenes and characters and elements from his favorite things to kind of dress up and make his final product even better. But I don't know if any of his works could directly be considered anime because they're games, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a different medium.
Yeah, I at least like for me, when from like an outsider, so like when I play fucking like when I play like the Metal Gear Solid 5 and it's like the opening.
Yeah.
And you see like that fucking fire whale just come out of nowhere and it's kind of not explained. And I'm like, okay, this is some shit I could imagine happening in like some Japanese like anime or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know why. Sure. It just gives off the vibe of like anime, at least in my perception, has like this thing where like anything can happen and like in a very specific way that would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think anime is interesting because like a lot of times you know, people do try and put it in a box, especially from the outside, right? Because like it seems as though you're an outside you know, perceiver, like you don't really consume that much anime. So I think anime really the only thing that truly limits anime or puts it in the anime category is like an animated work of narrative fiction. And sometimes it's not even fiction, and typically from Japan or Japanese animators. So when you say that, you know, you could perceive that happening in an anime, I think anime is really unique in the sense that like when you animate something, you're basically allowed to push your creative energy to its logical limit, in the sense that like I remember when they first announced that they might do a Cowboy Bebop live action, and this was like years ago. This was like a decade ago, and they wanted to do it live action and they wanted to do it practical. The first thing that they heard was, you know, this is going to cost like $1 billion because to do all the things that they did in Cowboy Bebop, to truly realize that world, the cost would have been so exorbitant that it was just impossible. So when you get fire whales and shit, the reason being in video games and in anime is that you have a digital medium where people aren't limited by the things that exist in real estate. And so I think when you get a creative mind like Hideo Kojima, who literally his focus is, I want to push the video game genre to its logical limit, you're going to get some of those larger than life moments that are reminiscent of a cartoon or an anime, where a creative mind is basically just allowed to put itself on acid and push it to an extreme.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Hideo Kojima, did you play Death Stranding?
I haven't yet, and I feel bad about that because I am a huge Hideo Kojima fan, and I am a gigantic fan of the Metal Gear Solid series. I just feel like, just like a director, I feel like Hideo Kojima is such an amazing creative mind that he almost functions better with a little bit of a limit. And I think that Konami kind of almost by limiting him the way they did, they made him be more creative. Like the way that I would kind of liken him is to Roberto Rodriguez. When Roberto Rodriguez was working on an extremely limited budget, he made better stuff than when he was given this unlimited budget from the studio and ended up making like Escape from Planet Terror and like Machete. Those aren't as good as Desperado and Mariachi. Like they're just not the same piece of work.
Yeah, I definitely feel that with at least Death Stranding. But continue.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I still haven't played it, so like who am I to say? But it just looked like the core dynamic of the game isn't there. Like the entire walking sim just didn't look appealing to me in the way that the core element of Metal Gear just looked so appealing to me.
I definitely would agree, and that was my perception, but it released on PC, so it's on Steam now, so you can get it on Steam like literally now. I know they did they're doing like the Horizon Zero Dawn, which probably gonna get that too.
Yeah, I mean I have to play it. Obviously, I think the storyline will be enormously compelling just because it's Hideo and you have Norman Reedus and some other amazing talent
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, when I looked at it, when I saw it unveiled, when I read the reviews, I was like, oh man,
So,
this is not Metal Gear. And I think that's part of my problem. I think a lot of times when you
mhm.
get an artist you love and you love this one thing from them, like the example
Yeah.
I'll give is like, I loved Hereditary, right? I loved
Mhm.
Hereditary. I went into Midsummer being like, oh, I hope this is just more Hereditary. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And even though it was still a good movie, I was disappointed. So I feel like if I go into Death Stranding and just craving Metal Gear, it's gonna break my heart.
Yeah. It definitely will. But at least from someone who I played the fifth Metal Gear, I gotta play all the other Metal Gears too. I know I definitely
Yeah.
that's something on the list. But for
So
me,
so it's interesting. The fifth Metal Gear is the worst Metal Gear by
yeah.
far.
Yeah.
Like the gameplay elements of it are by far the coolest. But again, like Hideo Kojima left mid project. They didn't finish the game. They just
Yeah.
looped the first half.
Mhm.
And it's noticeable, right? You get through the first half of the game and you're like, oh my God, there's so much
super
cool shit
yeah.
going on, but what the fuck happened to we're just looping missions now? Why? And like I don't know, man. The game you gotta play is Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater.
Okay.
That is a perfect game.
I've heard that yes. I heard that was. And then I remember there was something about like fans getting like really pissed off because Konami like uploaded a trailer or whatever, and it was like using the Fox engine of like the boss fight in Metal Gear Solid like 3 or whatever versus like boss or whatever. Or
Yeah.
like the boss, and it was like in the Fox engine, and everyone was like so excited, and then it was just a pachinko machine
Yeah.
with like the fucking fancy anime stuff, and so I remember like
Yeah.
people getting really really mad about that.
Well, the other thing that they did that was like very strange is they released like a free intro to Phantom Limb that was like part of the plot, but it was like very deceiving because it like wasn't exactly the same gameplay and it was kind of like a tangent to the story, but it was essential to the story. It's like this one character getting kidnapped. I don't want to ruin
Oh
anything
yeah,
for anyone.
no, wasn't it? Yeah, wasn't it like that $60 like tech demo,
And you could,
or some
but
people called it?
I remember it being I remember it being free, but it was like 2 or 3 hours, and it was like part of the plot, but it was very strange. The whole release was marred by controversy because of Kojima essentially bowing out and being like, I've been pushed to do too many of these goddamn games. I don't want to do any more of these goddamn games.
Yeah.
I think he was enormously frustrated because Hideo Kojima, I know, is a guy who wants to express himself creatively so much, and I think he felt like his legacy had been so tied to Metal Gear that every time he's like, this is the last Metal Gear, he'd get death threats, he'd get letters of people crying, oh my God, please, we need more Metal Gear. And I think he was just like, what the fuck, man? I want this to die. So
Yeah.
I think like halfway through Metal Gear Solid 5, when it got really tough and he was unhappy with Konami, he was like, you know what? I just want this thing to fucking fail. I just want it to fail, and I want it to be done. Because the only way I'm going to get out of this is if I absolutely nuke it. If I make another perfect Metal Gear game, I'm going to be stuck, and I'm going to have to make another Metal Gear game. And so I think that's like what he realized and why he totally kind of just bowed out halfway through Metal Gear.
Yeah, no, I definitely think, yeah, it definitely does seem like that. Where it's like he kind of, you could clearly just tell, like near the end of the game, they just kind of gave up on the development, like they really did.
Oh, they did. He
Yeah,
left.
I know he left, and then there's like a ton of unfinished stuff in like the game files.
That's why you get like the looping missions. That's why you have to do the missions from early in the game again, but with a better rating or a more difficulty rating or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh,
Great. Yeah, I know that.
like all the unseen missions where it's like, oh, I got to go through this whole thing without being spotted. Like, fun.
Yeah, I know that actually, and that got me thinking. I know, so for like, at least for Death Stranding, I'm just gonna talk about the gameplay for the most part. I thought it would probably be boring, but it did actually manage to keep my attention because it's not like walking in the traditional sense where you just press W. It's walking in the sense where you got to keep your balance, you got to know how much cargo there is, you got to maintain, like if it sways on your back, If you have too high of a
Yeah.
thing, it's gonna sway. So it does like keep your attention that way from just pressing W, other than like Gone
Yeah.
Home, where it's not like in that
Listen.
sense.
I think Koji, like, obviously he knows how to make something like at least fun or playable or exciting. I think bottom line, there's just no way that you can make walking
Yeah.
that interesting. Like,
Yeah.
and I think he tried. I think he really tried, and I think he really wanted the game to be this exploration experience where the player was so immersed in this world, and walking almost became like meditative, and you got really good at this core game element, and then they throw all these things in to kind of muddle up the works. But I think the bottom line is this: whenever you're pitched a game and you're like, what's the core element? Walking.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that sucks a lot. Oh, hey, Lofus. Hi. Yeah, no, it's Will. Yep. Sorry, I'm just talking to my chat. But yeah, actually, hold up.
worries.
And now I have a notebook of like full of questions that I would write down randomly throughout. All right. Yes. And these are like things we don't have to get to, but they're just things like we can like just talk about. And obviously if they're interesting enough to go back and forth about, we can do that. What's something that got you into streaming? Like, why did you start streaming?
This is one of the least ambiguous answers that we will have all day.
All right.
There is a sole reason that I got into streaming, and it's Hassan Piker.
Okay.
I was working at TYT with Hassan. Hassan was, my longtime buddy, and it's one of those things where he had just started on this platform. And he was already like feeling the bite of, the potential that Twitch had, because he was coming from the traditional digital world like me. I was BuzzFeed, he was TYT, blah blah blah. And he was like, "You got to do this. You have to do this." I was kind of really hesitant at first, but he kept harping on, "You got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this." And then I saw some of the stuff that his community had created, and I was like, wow, that's really cool, man. And he was like, just do it. Like, you have this background in performance, you understand, you're a gamer, like, why aren't you doing this? You have like all this time. And I was like, all right, fine. So literally from his bedroom, we went on Amazon and we ordered me a really piece of shit gaming computer, and that was it. And he was like, now you have to do it. You spent the money, so now you have to do it. And that was it, man. I grabbed the TV that I was using to play video games on my PS4 in my room. I hooked it up to my gaming PC, and that was it.
Damn. Okay. All right. Well, I guess you answered kind of two questions at once, because the next question was, how did you meet Hassan? So
So I met Hassan years ago.
Oh, okay.
I guess it's almost 9 years at this point, which feels like, that just feels insane.
So you would have met him in 2010 or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Damn, that's
2011,
scary.
So I guess like 9 years.
That's scary to think about.
Yeah, but so I met him through my best friend growing up, a gentleman named Dan, and Dan went to Rutgers University with Hassan. And one night we bumped into a very sweaty, very portly young man who was just kind of bouncing off the walls, and that was Hassan. And that was the first time we ever met. We talked for maybe 20 minutes. We kind of hit it off. And then we both ended up moving to LA. And I think we were both aware that the other one was in LA, but we didn't really ever cross paths until Dan came to visit with his girlfriend. And I've told this story so many times, but came to visit with his girlfriend. His girlfriend was awful. And if you ever have met a Jersey guy with an awful girlfriend, there's kind of a phenotype and an ebb and flow to every fight. And every fight starts over nothing, and then it has her being like, "That's it, I'm out of here," and him being like, "Baby, wait." So we were at a restaurant, and they pulled this classic Jersey guy, Jersey girl fight. They storm off from the table, And Hassan and I were left sitting there, and I kind of looked at him and I was like, she's terrible. And he was like, oh, I fully agree. So we ate their food and left. And it was just kind of this like unconscious, like almost stepbrothers moment where like we ate their food and it was like, did we just become best friends? Yep. And like we stuck Dan with the bill for being a piece of shit. We literally stuck him with the bill, and that was it, man. Like we were in. And I think we were both kind of unusual people. We both had very atypical ways of looking at and dealing with the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of further bonded us. And in Los Angeles is a very lonely place. It's hard to meet people. It's hard to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we were just fast friends after that moment. And now it's been almost a decade.
Damn. Interesting. Wow. It's fucking cool as fuck.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Now, this is another random question. What gets you up in the morning? You know, this can be both literally and figuratively. Is it Farley, both literally and figuratively, or?
Farley is living in Chicago right now, sadly. So it's not Farley. Typically, it would be Farley. For a good chunk of time, it was Farley. Mm-hmm. What gets me up in the morning? Man. Gee whiz. You know, I'm one of those people. I'm a big sleeper. I'll sleep in. I think sleep is essential to one's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'll sleep. You know, way more. I'll always sleep in. But for me, what gets me up in the morning? Jeez, I love to work out. Working out is big. I love my first cup of coffee. That's always big.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I'm not a big morning person. But
me neither. I think the reason I get out of bed is because I'm like, okay, well, time for coffee. That's
Yeah.
that's my type of deal. Is like I'm like, okay, well, I want coffee now. It's like something in your brain that's like when you see like the light through the sage or whatever, and you're like, oh well, I guess it's coffee time. Something like that,
Yeah.
you know.
It is very satisfying, that first cup of coffee.
It is honestly. What is one goal you have that you wish you would try to realize more?
I mean, I think my acting is something that is always, I mean, and I hate to sound like this is my ego arc, but like criminally underrealized. I think I had so much success acting at BuzzFeed, and you know, I obviously have all of these works online in which I've really performed well, and I love doing different characters, and I have now completed two of the most reputable improv comedy schools on the planet in Second City and in Groundlings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just very hard to get cast in something when on paper someone goes, you know, what's his type? Oh, generic ass white dude. And I think it's hard because when you're first penetrating the industry, those first roles you need to be standout. So, I mean, I would love to do more acting, but you know, I just have so much going on right now that I don't have the energy to go out to like blind auditions and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hopefully one day I'm given an opportunity to really bash a role, but until then, I think that will remain my unsatisfied itch.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hi, chat. Hi. Hello, guys. I'm not ignoring you, just so you guys know. All right. Tell me, what is like a film that is criminally underrated that you think everybody in this chat should go watch right here, right now?
A criminally underrated film? I think a good one is Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. It's Guy Ritchie's like first major motion picture before Snatch.
Okay, hold up. I'm Peepo G right now. I gotta write it down. Lock.
Sure.
Snot. All right. And Barrel what? What was it again?
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
All right, Lock, Stock. All right. But yes, continue on describing it.
So have you ever heard of the movie Snatch?
Yes, I have, but I
Okay,
don't know what it's about.
So, so Snatch is an enormously popular crime drama that Guy Ritchie directed and kind of like basically has had this very fruitful career, from in which he kind of does the same movie over and over again because he's the best at crime drama. But Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels was like the prototype for that film. And he basically got a bigger budget to go like Mariachi is to Desperado, Lock, Stock is to Snatch. So he gets a bigger budget and he basically remakes the same film, and then that is Snatch. But not many people watch that original film, and I think that original film is just a tremendous work of crime fiction and absolutely worth your time. I'm trying to think of another underrated film which like gets no credit that is an amazing watch. I tend to think a lot of films from the 80s don't get enough credit. If you look at like streaming platforms, the number of films they have from the 80s is actually like woefully low, which is super surprising. But like films like The Fly, The Thing,
I love The Thing.
Films made. The Thing is like it's amazing because when The Thing came out, the reviewers hated it, right?
Yeah.
Siskel and Ebert called it pornography, which is like so funny to go back and look at like where people's mindset was and how they just weren't ready for that film at the time. So I always think The Thing is like required viewing, and not many people have seen it.
Yeah.
And it's just a masterwork of practical effects and horror, and it's kind of like Lord of the Flies on steroids, right?
Yes, actually, yes. I remember having to read Lord of the Flies and hating it, and then just like thinking, God, this is just like The Thing, but worse.
Yeah, kill the pig, drink pig blood.
I know.
Yeah, man. So yeah, those are some underrated films.
All right. Good to know. Chat, I bet you better have marked them down. These will be on the test. We're gonna have a review. But yeah, this is on the final. Actually, speaking of school having to be reopened, what do you think about that?
I think it's enormously short-sighted. It's tough because I'm not a parent, right?
Yeah.
Who am I to say that schools shouldn't reopen when there are literally millions of American parents that are sadly suffering from their kids being home all day, every day? Like it's very hard to run your life in a normal fashion when you don't have time away from your children. So, but I think it will be a disaster. I think it will obviously lead to yet another wave of COVID contamination, and it's just
well, it's not going to be another wave if the first wave never ended. So
yeah,
sure.
We'll call it another spike then.
Yeah, another spike, exactly. Oh my goodness.
But I think the United States has made it clear that because only 60% of our population wants to take this thing seriously.
Yeah.
The other 40% will always lead to a kind of just prolonged wave of infection. There's nothing we can do about it. So that is amazingly disappointing, and I think it's one of those things now where to hope for this thing to burn itself out by any natural course is a pipe dream, and now we're just kind of waiting for an antidote or a fucking vaccine.
Yeah, and
that's the only way this is never going to reach a resolution.
I know, like, even the vaccine, like, it takes years to develop them, and now we already have supposedly one in like development. So my thing is it going to be effective? That's
well, I mean, it's going to be difficult because you have anti-vaxxers too.
Yeah.
Right. So are we going to get into a situation now where people think that the vaccine is more of this conspiracy, this 5G effort of a shadow government to control its populace? Hopefully, if we develop a vaccine everyone goes and gets vaccinated, but you
No,
always
they
run
won't.
the risk of yeah, there you go.
They won't. And you want to know what? Fucking hell. You know, things are really screwed up when privileged, rich, white people are feeling the burn too, and they're affected by it.
Yeah.
So you know that it's fucked up.
I mean, everybody is affected by this. No one
Yeah.
is. See, it's amazing because I don't know if you've ever read Edgar Allan Poe's Mask of the Red Death.
I think,
But
yes.
it's basically about the very wealthy population of, I believe, France during the plague, and they're all bored and they're all feeling the pinch, and so they throw this party in which only the richest and most wealthy can attend, and so basically a peasant dresses up as a masquerade goer and infects them all with the Red Death, under his masquerade outfit, and it's kind of this metaphor for the wealthy and the powerful always think that their wealth and power will insulate them from the woes of the world, and in our case, COVID. But seldom is that the case because they live in a society. I hate to say that, but
We live in a
it
society.
eventually will come back to them. Yeah.
Yep. We live in a society, folks. That's the main takeaway from here.
That we do.
Yeah, we do. What is something that interests you that
Sure.
not many people know about?
Something that interests me.
Yes.
That's tough because I'm on camera literally 8 hours a day. I'm trying to think, what is something that like I have an interest in that I never talk about?
Is it bicycling?
No.
Damn.
I'm trying to think of like something like it's got to be something like I read about every time it comes across my screen.
Okay.
I mean, I've mentioned this, but like, I don't think people understand how deeply I am into football. I love football. I absolutely adore football, and any like New York Jets article that comes out, I read. I pretty much read like 100% of things coming out about the New York Jets. I mean, I kind of talk about that, but I
Yeah.
usually don't.
I know your Twitter. I follow your Twitter, and it is definitely, I get my fair share of New York Jets shit. So,
Yeah, I certainly talk about the Jets a lot. Let me think of like something else that like interests me that I don't talk about. I do a lot of reading on theoretical physics.
Okay.
Like quantum physics.
Oh my God, yes.
I think like the inner workings of the universe and kind of like the machinations of the universe are just amazingly interesting to me, and I'll typically read and digest all of those that I can get my hands on.
I love something where I think I was listening to, I hate to say it, but I was listening to, I think the guy who created, what is it, like Quake, and he's now like the guy or whatever, and he was on like the Joe Rogan podcast, and I was listening to it literally because it had Quake, the creator of Quake, in the title. So I was like, okay, well, I might as well listen to it. So it was like that, and I remember that they were talking about like how we're probably not going to get much more powerful like processors anymore because we can only go so small that when you get down to a certain smallness that the rules that we know about of like reality don't apply anymore. And so that we might have like particle, like, I don't know, like where it's literally supposed to be going like one way. Like if it's like on a straight line and it's going this way, then it's just gonna like disappear and then it might end up anywhere. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then that would be a problem. So we can't go too small at the moment. And that's why we're probably not going to get much more like leaps in PC where it's like, hey, it's a new, more powerful AMD processor. There's a new, more power, like all that, which I thought was really interesting. And then I sparked onto stuff like that. And, like,
Yeah.
yes, I love learning about, like, entanglement and stuff. That in space, too. Learning about, like, living in space, that scares me. Like, having to,
Why is
like,
that?
vigorously work out every day because otherwise you grow taller.
Disintegrate.
Well, yeah, no, but you'll, like, grow taller because your spine will, like, because there isn't gravity
Decompress.
there. Yeah, it will decompress. It scares the fuck out of me.
Also, your bone density goes to mush in space. Yeah. All that stuff is profoundly interesting to me.
Of course, yes.
And obviously, it's something that I think will be considered. Well, it might not be because people just don't seem to give a shit about the future. But
No.
I hope it's something that people consider more deeply.
This is now a 5-head discussion. An IQ of at least 30 is required to enter. Because we're on Twitch after all. Can't set the bar too high.
Yeah, man.
Oh, no, go ahead, which was you were saying.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Yes.
Continue with the talk.
All right. So I know, like, you had talked about this, your film that you had sold to Blumhouse or whatever, and that got canceled.
Yeah.
Hold up, if I could get an exclusive, what would you say that it's about? The China doll thing.
It's a horror film about a kind of like a Hannibal Lecter type, right? Is like the baseline of what it's about. But thematically, it's about how society, particularly wealthy men in San Francisco, fetishize Asian women to this almost laughable degree. I don't know if you've ever been.
Oh, you cut out. You cut out.
So, hello, am I still here?
Yes, you're still here.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever been to San Francisco, but
I have.
There's like a laughably high number of tech guys in San Francisco with Asian wives, white dudes with Asian wives, and they just like fetishize this, and it's become obscene, and there's like a whole demographic of guys who over sexualize Asian women and put them on this very strange pedestal. And Asian women never really asked for this. They don't appreciate it, and you'd be shocked some of like the questions that Asian women have to endure on a daily basis. Even if they are, 5th generation Americans, people will say, "Where are you from?"
Yeah.
Oh my God, your English is so good. Oh my God, I have an Asian wife. Where, like all these like very ignorant questions. And so we adapted the experiences of one of my friends, and we basically turned them into this horror narrative that tells the story of an American-born Chinese woman who basically, is being passed over for promotion by her work, and ends up in a situation where she fast tracks herself by working for a billionaire, and finds out eventually that this guy is like a real sick fuck. And as that kind of crawls down the hole, it gets more and more ridiculous and flawed and scary, and it ends up with this kind of bloody cataclysmic resolution. But it was really fun to write, and we've only gotten really positive reception on it. And I think it's one of these things where we're getting looks at it again because of the current environment in Hollywood, where it's like there is now much better representation for Black and people of color, but the Latinx and the Asian communities still seem like tragically underrepresented, as indicated by the Emmys, where there was one Latinx show that received a nomination and no Asian shows that received a nomination. So obviously in the age of inclusion, it seems as though especially the Asian community is underserved, and I think that's tragic. So my writing team, I'm just another token white guy, but my writing team, Henry is one of them, and he's a guy who lived and worked in mainland China in their film industry. And then Caroline is a Chinese woman, and I think that's kind of become our watchwords for at least our two first projects are very heavily focused on this this disparity. But I think as we move forward, we'll start to branch into other kind of horror curios and maybe even some comedy.
Do you have actually? This is a recommendation. Have you watched a YouTube channel by the name of the Accented Cinema or Accented Cinema? It's basically, I think, this guy who lives in China or whatever, and he basically is like talks to an American audience and says like what's going on, like what is like really good, what are like the failures of mainland Chinese like modern movie things. It's a really, really good YouTube channel, and I would.
Yeah, I just found it. I will absolutely check this out.
Yes, his guy, that guy's stuff is really, really good, and I like it. I like him a lot. And so yeah, I think.
Thank you for sharing that, bud.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, it's something where was really interesting. What do you think about movie posters and like so for like this is actually one of the topics of his video, how like a lot of like the Chinese movie posters copy a lot of like what is it, like just American ones like the Marvel
Sure.
or whatever.
Sure.
And then like I know like he compares like something to like the Japanese. What is like your take on like movie posters? Do you think that they should be more utilized? I mean, obviously, I would imagine that you think.
I think movie posters are. I mean, truly now they're kind of only for purists, right? Back in the day, movie posters were essential because it was the way that you would draw someone's attention to the film. Now I would be willing to wager that of the people that go see your movie, 90% are there because of the trailer, 8% are there because of word of mouth, and maybe 2% saw the poster and were like, "Oh, I gotta see that." It's just not. It's kind of like print media, right? I think it's archaic at this point, and I don't think it's how it draws people to your film. But it's kind of there for purists in the sense that like the poster is something that you'll own if you loved the movie. The poster is something that you'll look at and digest if you own the art book, and it's kind of like a representation of the film in another medium. So I mean, I've never really given that much thought to film posters because I think it was even like before my era, film posters were essential. But I mean, it is an interesting thing to consider that it is like this print representation of this static representation of your dynamic medium. But yeah, I mean, some movie posters are incredible and deserve some time being looked at. Like the one that I love is Moonlight, using those three actors and kind of creating like an amalgam of that character's face is really interesting and compelling. But most movie posters, they don't even ping in my mind.
Yeah. Actually, I have another random question that popped into my mind. What is a feature that you would like to see added to Twitch?
A feature that I'd like to see added to Twitch? I think they need to fix squad streaming. They added all these things like team stream and squad stream, and they realized that it doesn't directly benefit Amazon, so they just stopped developing them.
Yeah,
and they don't benefit the streamers, right? Like it's really important that they benefit the audience, right? Like there's accessibility in Team Streamer. It's like, hey, if you want to see all the friends that I blah blah blah, you can click through. The click-through rate of Team Stream is actually something like 2%, which is like woeful.
I know.
Woeful. Like I could literally just put a whiteboard behind me of like streamers I like, and it would probably get more click-through than the feature that they designed with programmers, which is fucking pathetic. Excuse my language.
No, it's okay. You can swear. Don't worry.
And then squad streaming, they developed it to be this feature where it's like,
if you're playing Escape from Tarkov, like, you know, can get like both.
Well, the whole thing was like streamers can get together and stream, and you can watch both angles, and everyone benefits. But then what streamers found out is that squad stream only counts the views for the biggest streamer in the squad stream. So basically everyone else, it's like a lost leader. Like, it's hurting your metrics. So like, no one wants to do a squad stream. No one wants to do a squad stream because you don't benefit from it. If there's some way that they can develop where like you share all the ad rev and you get some kind of profit boost and it helps your view margin, like even the smaller streamer, then more people would be much more willing to do it. But right now there is no incentive to squad stream other than that person in your audience who's like, hey, use that feature, squad stream. And it's like, right.
Yep, I get that. What is the best state in the United States?
The best state in the United States?
Yes, what is the best state as in they have the best food?
The best state as in they have the best food?
Yes, the best food. Now, I'm not talking about where they have good restaurants there, but they're known for making the best type of stuff.
Oh, you're talking about like best native cuisine.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, California.
All right. Okay. What is
like California has all like the Mexican influence. It's kind of got like its own like Cali Mex, like it's kind of like Tex-Mex, but it's also like the home of like everything organic and everything like, you know, if you or you know, like all like the healthy options to everything. And it's also the home of like In-N-Out, and I mean it's just got like it, and it's also so big. It's got if you were to ask me where the best restaurants are, it's New York though. Like there's not even a close. The culinary palette of Manhattan is absurd. I mean, it's up there with like the culinary bastions of the world. It's up there with like Paris, France, and Rome, Italy, and places that have been doing this since the fucking turn of the century. New York has some of the most amazing restaurants in the world. I mean, they have 5-star Michelin restaurants.
Oh, yeah, they do. Especially in the Chinatown. Oh my God. I loved going there in New York. Holy shit.
I mean, it depends. I guess a close second for me would either be South or North Carolina or Nashville. But Nashville's a city because of their barbecue. I think those are the best barbecue areas. Like Nashville hot chicken is amazing. Or Chicago because they just have like beef sandwiches, hot dogs, deep dish pizza, like all these like things that will kill you but are certainly delicious.
I mean, yes, that's American breakfast. Like, hey, it's gonna kill you, but it's good. It tastes good. What do you Nordic people eat for breakfast, huh? Fucking raw lamb? Fuck out of here. You're fucking dumb shit. Sorry, Nordic viewers. But yeah, actually not sorry, but you know, whatever. Can you, I will be right back in 1 second. I'm really fucking thirsty and I'm gonna go get a Coke. Sure. Not sponsored.
Sure.
Okay. Hi, I'm back.
Hello.
All right. With my non-specific brand of cola. Tasty.
Nondescript brand.
Yes. It's like I don't know why. I like it when a lot of like companies will or like when you see like a cheap movie or whatever. I don't know. I remember, it was in this student film where that because so when I was in high school, my high school was like insanely overfunded. So they had like their own like TV studio essentially there.
Wow.
And you had like your own fucking film class there. The reason is because a ton of mobsters lived there, and so they built their houses there, and then like so now you have insane property tax.
They dumped all that mob money back into education.
Yes, they did. So you know, crime does pay.
Who says crime doesn't pay? Yeah, there you go, baby.
But so like that, and so what my film person would like to do, or my film teacher would like to do, is if he liked you a lot, he would go and pull you aside and say, hey, do you want to make a movie together? And basically he would go and he would fund everything himself. And obviously I had the honor of doing one. And then what was it? And then like he showed me like a couple of his other ones, and I gotta say one of them was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I don't know, like and it was like written by the kid and whatever, and he was just like the guy throwing money at him. So he was like, okay, here, you do this, and it was really, really bad. And I remember like this one scene where they had like this Coke thing, but they had like this red paper like stickered, like, and it was literally, you could clearly tell that they just like had like taped on it like some red paper they colored in with some like red marker, and it wasn't like the specific type of red, and it just said cola on it in the movie. And that was like the part where
that's amazing. I love kind of stuff like that. Like they call that Hollywooding when you're on set, like when you just scuff something, when you're like, oh shit, like a bunch of light is pouring in through the window. It's like, get an intern to stand in front of the window. It's like Hollywood that.
And then it's like you see the shadow of the intern or whatever. Yeah, I can see that. I remember another thing was that in like the in the final act of the movie, there was like this one part where the main character is supposed to get shot, and they had like a blood bag all like pumped up and ready to go, but like it was like raining or whatever, and so you could clearly see like the thing through the shirt, because the guy had like the main character or whatever like had a really bad like shirt on, so you just clearly see like this very big tube kind of protruding from his chest, and then it's like a ton of blood comes up around.
Dude, I remember when I was making movies like that, and like, to be honest, in like a very strange way, there's still some of my favorite stuff I ever made, because like you just allow yourself to be creative and kind of like cringe in a fun way, where you're just doing dumb, silly stuff. And I still have a whole gang of films that I made in like high school and college that are just so silly.
Oh my god.
And I love them.
I wish I could get that. I'm gonna actually email him and ask him if he can send that to me, because I still want to fucking. I want no. Well, I'm talking. I wasn't in the one I was talking about. I'm talking about another one he showed me, but I definitely.
Got it.
I gotta. It was like made. Yeah, I remember, and also I remember he told me that in one scene, like people were smoking, or like the characters were supposed to smoke, and.
Right.
So like they had hired like another lady to like play another like character, and like she had never smoked before, and that was the reason why she started smoking, was after that shoot they got her fucking hooked on cigarettes.
No. Oh no, dude, that's so depressing.
I know. That's the one.
That's so depressing.
It was so fucking depressing. I know, and they said like near the later end of the shoot that she was in, they had to like go out and get more packs, because in between every shoot she'd like fucking start chain smoking them.
Jesus, dude.
I know.
That's show business.
That's show business for you, baby. You never work in this town again. I love those.
You're done.
You're done here.
Jacko, we're pulling up on an hour here. Do you have anything else you want to ask me before?
No, yeah, I was actually gonna, I was gonna say, well, I have to go help my sister pack for college because,
Amazing.
yeah, amazing.
Well, amazing. What an interview, Jack.
I know, yeah.
You're a young, tenacious interviewer.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun, man. Thanks for inviting me today.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for coming on, really. Means more to
problem.
me than it does to you, probably.
Hey, oh, stop. Get out of here. I had a great time.
All right. Thank you. Well, guys, if you want to know who this, I mean, you definitely know who this guy is, but in any case, you don't know who he is. His name is Will Neff. He is a very entertaining person. He does literally anything. Like, you can be watching some Japanese cooking show, and he makes it really entertaining and makes you hungry, too. So then you have to exit the stream and get something to eat and then come back and be hungry again. What?
There you go.
He needs to stop doing that. But anyway, he is a very good guy. Check him out. Will Neff, twitch.tv. Amazing guy, talented guy, great guy. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for the plug, baby. And let's talk soon, all right?
All right, sure. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Bye, Will.
Adios, man. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, guys, I have to go and help my sister pack for college. So it means a lot to have you all here. Hi. Even though you probably came because of Will, because who wouldn't? I'd come for Will. Don't take that out of context. But anyway, in any case, I'm gonna go see you guys in I don't know, probably tomorrow, because I have to go help and do something like that. So after I go and do the shit with my sister, I'll stream something. I don't know what it will be, but it's gonna be entertaining, or I'll try to make it entertaining. I can't promise that. But yeah, anyway, I will see you guys later. Bye!